gray piece of cardstock that I cut out of the center of one of the layouts to make a card using some of the stamps and scraps that I have from the collection. So I've started with an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of the gray cardstock that I folded in half at 4 1/4 to make a standard size card base. I'm going to take the I Heart You stamp from the BU collection from Fancy Pants, and I'm going to stamp it in gray ink for a tone on tone look. Then I'm going to stamp it again in red and just on a scrap piece of white cardstock. And I'm going to cut out the heart from the I Heart You section of the stamp. Adhere it over the heart on the cardstock just for a little red heart right there on the sentiment for some extra interest. So you can see here I've cut the heart out, just putting a little dab of glue right over the original stamped heart and adding the cut out heart on top. Next one I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take some of the scraps from the collection and make a flag banner underneath it. So here I have a banner die, and I'm going to take 3 of the scraps and cut them out using my die cutting machine. And then that'll give me 3 little flags to put on the front of my card. So here you can see what they look like. I went with 2 polka dots and a solid. And I'm going to curl them. I'm just using a marker to curl them, similar to how you do with ribbons and scissors. And that way they'll have extra dimension on the card. Next, I'm going to use just a little bit of adhesive at the top. I'm not putting adhesive on the whole flag. And that's how I'm going to stick them to the card. If I put adhesive on the entire flag, then they'll lay flat, and I don't want that. So I'm just putting it at the top here. And then I thought they were just a little bit close to the sentiment, so I'm just moving them a little bit here. And now I've got them where I want them. I'm going to poke some holes. And I'm poking 4 holes per banner, one on the card base itself on either side of the banner, which I'm doing here. And then I'm going to go back and poke 2 holes in the top of each banner. And that way I can weave a piece of twine through it, so it'll look like the tags are held onto the card with the twine or string or whatever you choose to use. So here you see I've got my twine, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my piercing tool to push the twine through the hole. Probably a needle would be better for this, but I don't have a needle with a hole big enough for the twine. But this works just as well. I just lay the string across the hole, and then I use the point of the tool to push it back down through the hole. You can see how that works, and then I just pull it out from the other side. So now I have my banner totally strung. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a knot in the string on either side so that it'll look like the banner is tied to something on the front of the card. And you could put a brad there if you wanted to make it look even more like it was tied, and the brad could simulate a nail. And then I'm just going to trim off the string after I've tied the knots, so that it hangs just a smidge off either side of the card. Once that's done, I just keep it trimmed. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to put 2 pieces of white cardstock on the inside of the card. One to cover up the back of the front of the card where I have the twine, and the other so there's a place to stamp a sentiment and write a greeting. And here I'm using the same BU stamp that I cut in half earlier, and I'm just sticking it back together on my block. And this is how you can still, if you cut a stamp apart, how you can still use it the way it was originally designed. Because I just fit them together like a puzzle, and now my stamp image is exactly the way it was originally designed. So I'm putting gray ink on the entire stamp, and then I'm going to come in with a baby wipe, and I'm going to wipe the gray ink off the heart. so that there's no ink on the heart. I'm just stamping the letters at this point. And then I'm going to go in with the red, and this is the same red that I used on the front for the one heart there. I'm going to stamp it again, and now my stamp is two-toned. So once that's stamped, I'm going to go ahead and adhere it down to the card base. And that's my card using scraps from a layout. So you can see how you can easily make a quick greeting card from what you have left over from a layout. There's another stamp in the collection that reads True Original, and I'm going to use that on the back of the card. That really, I liked how that looked because this is an original handmade card for the person. So it makes a great greeting for the back of a card as well, so that they know it's something handmade from you. Thanks so much for watching.